After 15 years, my family invited me to celebrate my sister's big success. She smirked and said, "Still washing cars?" But when I handed her my business card, her face went pale and the room fell silent. 15 years. That's how long it had been since I last saw my family. When I left home, I was 20, angry, broke, and tired of being the family disappointment. My parents used to say, "Why can't you be more like your sister, Rachel? She's smart, ambitious, successful." Meanwhile, I was the kid who barely made it through school, who worked long hours at the local car wash just to keep a roof over my head. I didn't hate them for comparing us. I hated myself for caring so much about their approval. So one day, I packed my things, climbed into my old, rusted pickup truck, and drove away without looking back.
No goodbyes. No promises.
Just me and a dream that someday, somehow, I'd prove them wrong. 15 years later, I had built a life they couldn't even imagine. But to them, I was still that same dropout who was wasting his life washing cars. They had no idea that the thing they once mocked me for had become the foundation of my success. Then, out of the blue, I got an email from my mother. "Hey, sweetheart, it's your father's birthday this weekend. Rachel's flying in from London. It would mean a lot if you joined us. It's been too long." I read that message over and over. 15 years of silence, not a call, not a text, and suddenly I was sweetheart again. I wanted to delete it, but something in me softened. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe hope. Against my better judgment, I decided to go. Driving back into my hometown felt like entering a ghost story I'd tried to forget. The same cracked roads, the same corner diner, the same houses with faded paint and old memories. But everything felt smaller now, weaker. When I pulled into my parents' driveway, the sound of laughter and music spilled from the windows. I took a deep breath and walked in. Every head turned toward me, and there she was, Rachel. Perfect hair, perfect smile, same smug expression I remembered from the day she told me, "You'll never make it doing that car wash thing." She walked over with that polished confidence, arms outstretched. "Well, look who finally showed up," she said, hugging me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then, in a whisper only I could hear, she added, "So, you're still washing cars, huh?" Her voice was dripping with mockery. The room erupted in laughter. Even my father smiled awkwardly, trying to pretend it was just a joke. I didn't react. I just smiled calmly. "Yeah," I said. "Something like that." Dinner continued, filled with stories of Rachel's success, her company in London, her million-dollar contracts, her unstoppable drive. My mother beamed with pride, saying, "We're just so proud of both our kids," but the way she looked at me told a different story. I sat quietly, listening, nodding, pretending not to notice the pity in their eyes. To them, I was still the failure who never grew up. Then came the moment that changed everything. Rachel leaned back, sipping her wine with a smirk. "So tell us, big brother," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Still wiping windshields and scrubbing tires. More laughter followed. This time I didn't laugh with them. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a sleek black business card, one with my company's silver logo embossed across it. I slid it across the table toward her. "Actually," I said softly, "I own a few car washes now." The room fell silent. Rachel picked up the card and read the words slowly. "James Carter, founder and CEO, Apex Auto Group." Her smile faded instantly. Her eyes widened. "You own Apex?" She whispered. My father looked up, his fork frozen midair. "Wait, the Apex? The one that sponsors the city's auto expo every year?" I nodded. "That's the one." You could have heard a pin drop. The grandfather clock ticked loudly in the corner as everyone just stared. Rachel's face went pale. My mother looked embarrassed. My father cleared his throat and tried to smile. "Well, good for you, son." But the damage was done. The room that had been filled with laughter moments ago was now heavy with shock. I leaned back in my chair and smiled calmly. "It's funny," I said. "I still wash cars sometimes." Keeps me humble. The color drained completely from Rachel's face. After dinner, I stepped outside to get some air. The cool night breeze felt like a fresh start. Rachel followed me out, her voice softer this time. James, I didn't mean to sound rude back there. I looked at her and gave a small smile. You meant every word, Rachel. You just didn't expect the joke to turn around on you this time. She looked down, embarrassed, turning my card over in her hand. You've really done well for yourself. I nodded. Yeah, I just wish I'd done it for the right reasons. She looked confused. What do you mean? I took a deep breath. For years, I worked just to prove you all wrong. Every late night, every risk, every deal, it wasn't about passion. It was about revenge. I wanted to stop being the family failure. But you know what? It didn't make me happy. It just made me tired. She stayed quiet for a long moment, then whispered, You could have called, you know. We missed you. I smiled sadly.
No, Rachel.
You missed bragging rights. She flinched, but didn't argue. As I walked toward my car, my mother stepped onto the porch. James, thank you for coming. Your father was happy to see you. I nodded. Tell him I'm glad he's doing well. Will we see you again? She asked hopefully. I looked at the house where I'd grown up, the same walls that once echoed with words that cut deeper than any knife. Maybe someday, I said, but not yet. That night, driving away under the city lights, I finally realized something important. Revenge doesn't heal you. It just proves them wrong. But it doesn't make you right. Still, as I watched the road unfold ahead of me, I smiled. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running from my past. I was driving toward my future. Months passed in quiet peace. Apex Auto Group expanded into 3 more cities. Investors were lining up, and for the first time, I felt truly free. But life has a way of testing your peace when you least expect it. One night, my phone rang after midnight. An unknown number. I almost ignored it until I heard the trembling voice on the other end.
James, she said.
It was Rachel. Her voice was shaky, barely holding together. Dad's in the hospital. It's serious. My heart stopped. What happened? I asked. He had a heart attack. They're doing everything they can, but he keeps asking for you. Within hours, I was back on that same highway I'd driven years ago. Only this time, there was no anger in my chest, just fear, regret, and a heavy kind of love I'd buried long ago. When I reached the hospital, Rachel was waiting in the hallway, eyes red, face pale. He's been asking for you nonstop, she whispered. I nodded and walked in. There he was, my father. The man who once laughed when my sister mocked me, now lying in a hospital bed, fragile and hooked to machines. His eyes opened slowly. James, he whispered. You came? I pulled up a chair and sat beside him. Of course I did. He looked at me for a long time, studying my face like he was trying to etch it into his memory. You're different now, he said weakly. I had to be, I replied. He nodded, eyes glassing over. I know I wasn't fair to you. Those words hit harder than I expected. I'd waited my whole life to hear them, but hearing them now, from a man fading away, felt bittersweet. He gripped my hand, his voice barely a whisper. You were always the strong one, James. I just didn't see it. I was proud of the wrong things. I swallowed hard. It's okay, Dad. No, he said. It's not. But thank you for coming anyway. He fell asleep holding my hand. I sat there for hours, listening to the monitors beep steadily. Rachel sat quietly in the corner, occasionally wiping away tears. For the first time, we were together, not as competitors, not as enemies, but as family. Over the next few days, I stayed in town, helped with bills, talked to the doctors, made sure Mom was eating. Rachel and I talked for real, for the first time in decades. One night, we sat outside the hospital, sharing coffee from a vending machine. She said softly, You know, I always envied you. I looked at her, surprised. You envied me? I was the failure, remember? She shook her head. You had freedom, James. You lived for yourself. I lived for them, for their approval. I did everything they wanted, but it never made me happy. I stared at her in silence, realizing how blind I'd been. I thought she had everything, but she was just as trapped as I was. She looked down, then whispered, "You were right that night.
We didn't miss you.
We missed control."
I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything. I just nodded. Sometimes silence speaks louder than forgiveness ever could. A few days later, Dad woke up stronger. The doctors said he'd recover with time. Before I left, he took my hand one more time. "Son," he said, "I don't expect you to forgive me. Just don't disappear again." I smiled faintly.
No promises, Dad.
"But I'll try." He chuckled weakly. "That's good enough." As I walked out of the hospital, Rachel hugged me tight. "Take care of yourself, okay?" "You too," I said, then grinned. "And hey, next time you mock someone for washing cars, make sure they don't own the company." She laughed through her tears. Fair enough. Months later, I visited again. This time not out of obligation, but choice. My family still wasn't perfect, but something had changed. I had changed. I wasn't seeking validation anymore. I'd stopped chasing approval the moment I realized I didn't need it to define my worth. Sometimes you don't go home to prove you've changed. You go home to see if they finally have. They once laughed because I washed cars. Now, they drive the ones my company builds. And I still wash them, not out of shame, but out of pride. If you felt that journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the best revenge is becoming everything they said you'd never be.